respect. Welcome back. I'm Gila Ross, author of Living Beautifully and host of the Power Up podcast, where we share short, relatable ideas to impact and upgrade your everyday life. Does respect need to be earned?
Yes.
Or does everyone deserve respect?
Everybody deserves to have respect, and respect can be taken away as you get to know the person. You can lose that respect for them. However, even if you lose that respect, they still need to be treated with respect. Does that make sense?
Well, see, the way I would look at it is like, if you don't know someone, you give them respect, like right away. But if you're in a close relationship with someone and then they do something that makes you not respect them, well, then you have choices to make. You don't have to be with them anymore.
I love this analogy. Everybody has their house, and people can move, like you. Some people you can let into the front door. Some people you can let them into the foyer. Others you can let into the kitchen. Other people you let into the bedroom. Now, or you just have different relationships, and people can move around the house. So even if you have somebody who at some point is, let's say, a living room person, and something happens, that doesn't mean you have to totally kick them totally out of the house, but maybe you need to move that living room person to the foyer. But that also has to do with respect, because you treat people differently in different rooms of the house.
There's an underlying basis of respect that we should walk into every human interaction with, regardless of what else is going on. I don't care if you are not the nicest human I've ever met. There's still an underlying level of respect that I owe you as a human. That doesn't mean that I have to be vulnerable with you and let you all the way in. That doesn't mean that I have to trust you farther than I can see you. That doesn't mean any of that, but it's an underlying level of humanity and dignity.
You have to offer respect, and I think when you offer respect, it comes back. For the most part, it comes back in a positive way.
Do you think respect is something that comes naturally to us, or do you think it's a skill that we kind of have to learn?
There's some people that are naturally have a very difficult time being respectful. And there's some people that have a very easy time being respectful. That's just because who they are. I think it's of both.
It has to do
In how they were raised.
If you're saying it's how you're raised,
Yeah.
then that's almost an argument for it's not natural. And if your parent, like if you're raised right, then you learn it from a young age. Does anyone want to read, please?
Sure.
Rabbi Eliezer ben Shamua used to say, the dignity of your student should be as precious to you as your own, the dignity of your colleague as the awe of your teacher, and the awe of your teacher as the awe of heaven. Rabbi Yehuda used to say, be careful with your studies, for a careless misinterpretation is tantamount to a willful transgression.
Thank you. Let's start with trying to understand who was Rabbi Eliezer ben Shamua, right? So a couple of anecdotes about him is one of the things is he lived until a very old age, and he was asked, what do you attribute your secret of longevity? And he said, because I gave everyone respect. Right, like that's what he felt was the secret to longevity. And in fact, there's a story that's told about him that there was once a Roman who was shipwrecked, and he ended up with nothing, not even clothes, because he lost everything. And he met a couple of people and he asked them, will you help me? At the end of the day, the son of I'm a descendant of Esau, they were Jewish people, we're kind of related, will you help me? And they refused to help him. Then he met Rabbi Eliezer ben Shamua, and he said he said the same thing, will you help me? And he gave one of his own clothes to him, and he took him to his house, and he fed him, and he set him up on his way, and gave him money, whatever it is that he needed to go on his own way. Fast forward a few years, and this Roman becomes the emperor, right? The king, whatever it is. And you know what, he's now a king, he's now got power, and he decrees that these two people that he had asked for help and that had refused to help him, he decrees that they be put to death. And obviously the Jews were like, well, yes, it was wrong what they did, but the death penalty is a pretty strong penalty. So they asked Rabbi Elazar ben Shammua to go and intercede on their behalf. And Rabbi Elazar ben Shammua went to the Roman emperor, and obviously the Roman emperor recognized him. And because he recognized him and felt grateful to him for having helped him in his hour of need, he actually rescinded that decree to kill those two people. So we see that theme of Rabbi, bless you, Rabbi Elazar, bless you. Rabbi Elazar ben Shammua's life was one of dignity and respect for others. Now, what does he tell us? He says the dignity of your student should be as precious to you as your own. Any ideas? Why should that be? And for a student, it could be a child, it could be someone you teach something to, right? Like, why should the dignity be as precious to you as your own?
I think they look up to you, they're an extension of you. Like when you're giving, right, because you're giving over information to them. When you give, you're kind of giving a piece of yourself.
That a teacher can have a huge impact on a student by the way they treat their student, even more than what they're trying to teach them. And you hear all these horror stories about how this kid lost their self-esteem and became just, just very depressed because some teacher said something to them at some point when they were maybe in elementary school, and it made such an impression because they saw this teacher as someone of authority. So they have a much bigger impact than they realize.
They have the power.
Yeah, they have the impact and the power. And I think also going back to what Rachel kind of said is that when you teach someone, again, whether it's a child, whether it's a student, right, you're investing yourself into, and we should view their accomplishments as our accomplishments in a way, because like sometimes a teacher or a parent can feel like somewhat threatened if their child or their student becomes better than them or greater than them, right? But here it's kind of teaching us is that like you invest yourself in it, so see yourself in that success, right? And give them the same sort of respect that you would protect the dignity of your students. And we see this from Moshe and Yehoshua. Moses was the teacher of Joshua, of Yehoshua. And when it came time to choosing the spies, instead of saying to Yehoshua, go choose, he said, come, let's choose, right? Let us choose together. Because he treated him as an equal, right? Even though he was a student and easily could have told him, you go do this or I'll do this. But instead he invited him to cooperate, to sort of collaborate with him as if they were peers. And I think one of the other things that it's important to say, and Mana made a very good point about that, our students, we have to respect our students because it makes a big impact on them. It's also good for our students and our children to respect us too, right? At the same time, we have to make sure that respect doesn't go to our heads, right? Yes, we have to expect a certain level of respect from students and children, but don't let it get to our heads. Okay, then he says the dignity of your colleague as the awe of your teacher. Why should that be? Why is he saying you should respect your peers as much as you respect a teacher? Shouldn't it be that you respect teachers more than you respect your peers? What element of that respectful relationship is he sort of highlighting here?
I think that you can learn from everybody.
Yep, we can definitely learn from everyone in that way. Sort of maybe everyone is our kind of our teacher. And I think also one of the other things is like when we have a relationship with a teacher, a mentor, we respect them and we don't necessarily expect a reciprocal relationship, right? What he's highlighting here is that when you're respecting your colleagues, your peers, we should let go of the expectation that it's going to be reciprocal. It doesn't mean that we put up with disrespect, right? That's not what we're talking about. But we're talking about like when a person has an expectation that the relationship's going to be like perfectly balanced, or completely reciprocal, oftentimes it creates a lot of tension in the relationship because people are kind of looking at like, well, I did X, Y, Z for you and you didn't do this for me. So instead he's kind of saying, just like, when you respect a teacher, you respect them and you're like, you don't have that expectation that it's going to be reciprocal, it's going to be the exact same back. So too, when it comes to your peers, give them respect. And see if you can let go of the expectation that they're going to give you the exact same respect that you give them. Can we respect someone even if we disagree with their act? Even if perhaps what this kind of mission is kind of teaching us is that as a human being, she deserves respect. Yes, she struggles and she does something wrong. And perhaps we all do things that are wrong, right? But we can maybe respect someone at the same time as knowing that, yeah, they're doing X, Y, Z that's wrong. They're doing this thing that's wrong, but still, they're a human being and they maybe have other things that are good about them, and that's a particular struggle for them.
It's kind of meeting someone where they are. Kind of that's, like you have to meet them to where they are with what they can give. Right? There's something about her that is positive,
Yeah,
right?
They deserve respect, even though you don't agree with what they're doing, right? They're doing something wrong. Doesn't necessarily have to be the same as respect. I also wonder, like, is respect the understanding that, like, if I was given the exact same character traits and upbringing and, situation as this person was, would I be any better than them? Right? Like, a lot of times, either they're given a personality that's difficult or they have a very difficult upbringing or again, it doesn't excuse,
right.
but it's just an understanding that, I think it just helps us kind of respect other people. And again, you're not going to respect someone who is, a role model of like kindness and compassion and caring the same way that you're going to respect a toddler, right? I'll just give you a different example. You're simply not, right? Because one is someone you look up to and you want to learn from, and one is, cute little thing that you respect as a human being, right? And I wonder if kind of like there's this basic level of respect that we can give to everyone, regardless of whether they've earned it yet or not. And what's interesting is that if we continue along what he's saying the awe of your teacher should be as the awe of heaven, right? Why should our teachers be as much as we fear God? Not more, but as much as we fear God, because our teachers give us access to eternity. And right, because a teacher who teaches you Torah, mitzvahs, whatever it is, and it helps us access eternity. So we're giving them sort of more respect than we think that we should give them. And if you look at it, there's a common theme that comes up, right? The first one is like students should be as much as yourself. I would think respect myself, respect my students a little bit less, right? I should respect my co-workers as much as I respect my teachers. I would think co-workers, colleagues, peers, less than things, right? And awe of your teachers, the awe of heaven, I would think no, right? Like first, the respect and awe that I have for Hashem is greater than that of teachers. But I think the common theme that's coming out from this is that we can struggle with respect, right? If you look at children, most children have to be taught to respect. Yes, some are more respectful, some are less respectful, some learn the lessons a little bit easier than some don't. But like if you've ever, spoken to anyone who teaches in a school, right? Like the lack of respect is something that has to be kind of taught. As human beings, like our human nature is sometimes to disrespect other people, right? It is to look for the flaws in other people and to notice the flaws in other people and to disrespect them. So he's kind of teaching us that in order to compensate for that, we have to over respect other people, right? So then we end up at a place where we're respecting them, right? Like, respect your students as much as you respect yourself, respect your peers as much as you respect your teachers, because we're overcompensating for our human nature to not respect other people. It doesn't come naturally to all of us to respect other people. I think it's something that we kind of have to work on. Yeah, we can put boundaries in place in a respectful way, right? Like someone does something wrong, steals. The boundaries are, they may have to go to jail, whatever it is, they may have to pay it back. And it's interesting because Jewish law is very clear that if someone transgresses X, Y, Z, there's expectations but it's done in a respectful way, right? And I think we have to be clear on what's right and wrong, right? Just because we protect other people's dignity, it doesn't mean we whitewash bad actions, right? If someone is walking around stealing, then that's not okay. If someone's using work time to do personal things, right, then it's not okay. And it leads us into the whole discussion, and I'll end with this, of the mitzvah of dana kasfus, right? There's a mitzvah to give other people the benefit of the doubt. And it's a Jewish law, right? So in Jewish law, there's 3 categories of actions. That the first one is someone who's righteous. What it means is, let's say you have a friend who's always on time, and one time they show up late. So they're considered righteous when it comes to showing up on time. So when they show up late that one time, then you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. You have to think to yourself, something came up and they couldn't get there on time. Contrast that with someone who's called bad in that area. Let's say someone who's perpetually late. They're perpetually late. You don't have to give them the benefit of that. You don't have to start coming up with excuses for them. Whatever, this person's late, it is that's part of who they are. And the third category is someone that either you don't know or that is sometimes and sometimes, right? Like either you're meeting this person for the first time and they're showing up late. And in that, or they're sometimes on time, sometimes late. And it can apply to any sort of action, any action. And in that sort of situation, you don't have to, but it's good to give them the benefit of the doubt. So I think that's also that balance of respecting other people, trying to be kind and compassionate, and at the time knowing what's right and what's wrong, and not whitewashing bad action.
Even if you're giving them the benefit of the doubt, you still have an obligation to treat them as human.
Yeah.
Treat them with dignity.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I'd love to hear your feedback, and if you enjoyed this episode, you'll love my book, Living Beautifully: How to Bring Meaning, Joy, and Love into Your Life, based on the timeless wisdom of Pirkei Avot. And please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. Have a wonderful day.